we're going to hear from Campbell.
Yeah.
He's the director of the Office of HIV/AIDS Network Coordination, HANC, and he oversees the strategic direction for all cross-network HCTG, HPTN, HPTN, and IMPACT activities. He's been involved in HIV trials, prostate cancer, diabetes treatment and prevention trials, and has a long commitment to addressing health disparities among communities who are underrepresented in research. Thank you so much for being here, and we look forward to hearing you.
Thank you for that wonderful introduction, and thank you, NMAC, for allowing me the opportunity to share and be a part of this plenary. NMAC, I also want to thank you for helping double the size of the Black population in Seattle for this weekend. Thank you so much. Now, I invite you, I hope this works, to take out your mobile devices. I'd like to ask you, what comes to mind when you think of community? Think about, you've heard from both Jim and Mary talking about community and talking about the history, this rich history that we have. Thank you. Because of HIV, we have organized, created spaces and ways of engaging that didn't exist prior to HIV. We've invested in each other, built trust, made decisions about how we address this virus and other health disparities, and we continue to evolve. This is community. Look at this. This is amazing. Thank you. As you can see, community is that familiar thread that brings us all together. It's about uniting to advocate and support each other. It's what connects us to each other. And we also recognize that there are communities that are disproportionately impacted by this virus. We've heard about those, and we'll learn more about that as we go along. Thank you. Love these responses. So, I am speaking on behalf of HANC, and the views expressed here today are my own. HANC was founded back in 2004 to support the science and operations of the HIV/AIDS clinical trials networks. We are funded by the Division of AIDS, and I just want to let you know that HANC has been around for over half of the life of the HIV/AIDS clinical trials networks. And just a little bit of HANC trivia. Jim was the first HANC director, followed by Dr. Jeffrey Shelton, that's also my mentor as well, and I'm happy to be serving in this role as the HANC director. I'd like to give a shout out to some of the HANC team members that are in the audience. I think you're in the second row right here. Please stand up. Amazing team, wonderful work. Thank you. So, some of you may remember this. This was a pretty radical thing that happened. The Surgeon General at the time, Dr. Everett Koop, sent out this mailing to millions of American households back in May of 1988. It was the largest mailing in American history, and the first time the federal government provided explicit sex information to the public. Imagine this happening now. This was also a time, as you've heard, there was great loss, uncertainty, fear. And this was also a time that I fell in love while I was an undergrad in college with a man. That man's name was Michael. Didn't plan to get emotional. Michael had just learned that he was HIV positive. So, that was the start of my journey to be a part of this work and to make a difference when it comes to this virus. So over the years, I was a AIDS peer educator going into college classrooms with a banana and a condom. Any of you remember those times? Doing the condom demonstrations? That was in South Florida. After moving to Seattle, I spent time working at the AIDS hotline, doing HIV counseling and testing in the VAS, working at the needle exchange, and then managing the needle exchange program. So this journey has been filled with lots of highs and lows, as some of you've been there. And as Jim noted, there was a time where AZT was the only thing. Unlike, and unfortunately, like many others, Michael didn't survive to the time to see the benefits of the biomedical advances that would come later. We have much to celebrate. We've made so much progress since the early days. The fact that we're here to talk about PrEP, long-acting injectables, DoxyPEP, the pivovarine vaginal ring is a testament to what we've accomplished. And I also want to celebrate those in this space who came through those times before the biomedical advances. We are here. We are here. And I know those that didn't make it would want us to celebrate being here. And many of them told us, do what you can to make a difference. I want to celebrate those who came after that time, who are here to continue making sure that we are doing what we can for members of our community. So the Gay Men of Color Fellows, thank you. Others who are doing this work, who came after this time, thank you. You are here. Because none of the advances would exist without members of community. Because community is the backbone. We are the backbone of research. All the things that Jim and Mary talked about, that's been a result of us, community. I wanted to pause for just a second to say something that may be obvious to many of you, but I think it's important to hear. Not everybody outside of this space is aware of PrEP. I know that I've been in sessions, and some of you have been in these, and they're well-meaning individuals who said, everybody knows about PrEP. We have to understand that not everybody does, and we have a lot of work to do. Because we have to make sure that that strong history of advocacy and being vocal continues. Speaking of that, in 1990, ACT UP and other activists made demands to NIAID to say something needed to be done, something needed to change. Thank you, ACT UP, and other folks who were out there raising hell. Soon after that activism, NIAID made community involvement in research a requirement going forward. So thank you for those who made that happen. So I want to just point out that back in 2006, Community Partners was formed, and that's a group that HANC facilitates, and those are members from across the world who make sure that there's cross-network communication when it comes to any issues impacting research in the various communities. There's been more than 30 years of experience fostering community partnerships, and NIAID recognizes that community participation has been the cornerstone since the early days of the HIV epidemic. Locally, I want to give a shout out to someone, the godfather of needle exchange in Tacoma, Washington, Dave Purchase, who was a friend and a mentor. He was someone who, like ACT UP, early folks in the epidemic, wanted to make a difference, and he started the needle exchange. And so, for those of you who may be from Tacoma, I live in Tacoma, shout out to Dave Purchase and needle exchanges, because we know they work. We stand in solidarity because there's so much happening around the world. We know that there's legislation that's attacking our very humanity. And as individuals who are part of these communities, we want you to know at HANC that we are unwavering in our support to uphold and protect human rights. We're all community. What happens to you does impact me. Not all communities are treated the same. So we don't have the same access and don't receive the same treatment as others. And this is true when it comes to research. We have to understand that some members of our community don't always have a choice as to when they have sex and who they have sex with. This is important to remember. So we have to elevate all members of our community who are still at times left out of research. Members of our community who are stigmatized due to injection drug use, members who may be older, members of trans experience. Everybody needs to be involved. So while having community members serve on protocol teams is excellent, there's more that can be done. We have to think about what are the priorities of the community. HIV prevention may not be at the top of that list. We should look at ways of how we can enhance partnerships with diverse communities in ways that are meaningful and relevant. We have to make sure that members on protocol teams have sufficient time to review protocols and find ways to make sure that there's a feedback mechanism, that when there is feedback given, that members understand why the feedback was accepted or not. Because if you want people to participate, they need to know that they're really a part of the process. Also, we want to make sure to ask this question. Are people of color in positions of leadership when you're developing research agendas and protocols? And if they're not, why? I just want to shout out to a couple of colleagues and friends, Drs. Michelle Andrasic and LaRon Nelson, who are elevating the importance of behavioral and social science. Thank you. As Jim noted, this Red Ribbon Registry is something we're trying to promote. Right now, both the HBTN and the ACTG are looking and hoping that you will scan this QR code, go to the site if you're interested in participating in clinical trials. As Jim noted, with COVID trials, we had over 700,000 folks. We can do more when it comes to HIV. So please scan this QR code. So when I moved to Seattle in the early 90s, I want to give a shout out to Pocan, who is still here. I know Stephen, you're right here. Thank you, Pocan. Pocan was formed back in 1987 to help address and support the needs of Black same-gender loving men. And as I said earlier, there was a time of so much uncertainty, loss, and grief. Pocan was a place where we could come and be embraced, and loved, and supported, especially part of Brother to Brother. Thank you, Pocan, for doing this. Thank you for welcoming me and embracing me during such a difficult time. I truly believe it's because of Pocan and Brother to Brother that I'm alive today. I'd like to just note that one of the founding members of Pocan, Kenny Jo McMullen, who would be here, who died recently, beautiful person, as well as several others who are no longer with us, Holiday, Ray Dumas, Milton Forquoff. Thank you all. So in closing, I'm just honored to be a part of this, and Keontae, I see you over there, you were part of this too. Let's do what we can to elevate each other during this summit and beyond. This work can be extremely draining, and we never really know what other people are going through. Let's try to be kind to each other. Give hugs if people are open to hugs. If you're okay with that, a smile in passing goes a long way. Even a head nod can be a powerful gesture. So I encourage you to find ways to continue to elevate and celebrate each other as brilliant members of this community. Thank you.